Today is Monday, November 13th, and this is the ADM Investor Services Weekly Market Kickoff. Today's guests are Alan Bush, Senior Financial Economist here at ADMIS, and Steve Freed, Vice President of Grain Research. Alan, the CME announced that it intends to launch Bitcoin futures before the end of the year, pending regulatory approval. What is the trader interest likely to be in the Bitcoin futures contracts?
Well, right now it seems to be very high, and in fact, some people have said that the interest in Bitcoin could possibly be more than the interest was before the S&P 500 contract was first started. So we are getting a lot of calls in this contract. Now there is no starting date as of yet, but the CME says before the end of the year.
Great. With Jay Powell nominated by President Trump to be the next chair of the Federal Reserve, is there any change in the outlook for the Federal Reserve policy?
I would say probably not. Powell's policies are very similar to Janet Yellen's. So I believe that we will still see the Fed raising rates at the December 13th meeting. Of course, that is the consensus view. In fact, there's, according to financial futures markets, there's over a 98% probability that the Fed will raise at that meeting. So I am fully on board with the consensus view that the Fed will be raising in December.
After making new record highs last week, stock index futures fell more recently due to possible delays of President Trump's tax reform plans. Is this the beginning of a new bear market?
I would have to say no. I think the traders are focusing too much on the politics and not enough on the still low interest rate environment, which is there with us all the time. So breaks should be used as buying opportunities. In fact, I believe that we will see another new round of contract highs at all of major indices before the end of this year.
Steve, what did the USDA say last week about U.S. and world supply and demand?
The information was considered negative in that they raised the corn yield to now a record U.S. corn yield versus last year. The weather hasn't been as good as last year, so it was very surprising that we now have a record corn yield, and the perception is that the next report is in January, and that corn crop could even get bigger. There was talk that the bean crop might get smaller. They didn't lower it that much. They didn't change the carryout that much. And they kept the South American crops unchanged, maybe Brazil 1 million tons higher. So that was negative. And then they raised the Russian wheat crop number, which was negative. So in general, the report was negative.
And what's the latest with South American weather?
Things have turned better. It was dry in northern Brazil. It's now raining there. And it was too wet in southern Brazil and Argentina. Now it's dried out. The only thing that we have to watch out is sometimes, and if this is the La Nina year, sometimes in the La Nina years, Argentina tends to dry out this summer, so we have to kind of watch that.
And what is the latest outlook for corn, bean, and wheat prices?
Right now, corn prices is in a carry, which means the deferred contracts are higher than nearby. And the perception is, at least until the summer of 2018, the deferred prices will come down to where the nearby prices are. So that might be as much as a 20 to 25 cent break. In the beans, some people think that the beans are as much as 50 cents overvalued. And that the lower end of the range, if there's not a South American weather issue, could be $1 lower from here. Wheat prices are probably in a pretty strict trading range, not much on the downside and not much on the upside. There's just too much wheat in the world.
Please remember that the opinions expressed here today are solely the opinions of our guests and are not necessarily the opinions of ADM Investor Services or Archer Daniels Midland Company. If you have any questions or comments or would like to know more about our services, please contact us at www.admis.com.